Everybody, welcome to Norristown Municipal Council meeting for August 4th today. Can we please have a moment of silence and do the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Valerie Moman.
Here.
Hakeem Jones.
Here.
Sonia Sanders. Heather Lewis.
Here.
Rebecca Smith.
Here.
Thomas LaPera.
Here.
Derek Perry.
Here. Thank you. Can we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from last meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? We did not have an executive session today. Vice President LaPera, do we have any announcements?
No announcements.
Any council members have any announcements?
No, I didn't.
Councilwoman Moomin.
The Help a Single Parent will be holding its annual Community Day and Back to School Book Bag Drive on August 22nd from 12 noon to 6 p.m. At the Oak Street Martin Luther King Park. We are asking for any type of financial or school material donations. And you can either see me or you can see Councilwoman Sonia Sanders. That's it.
Council, any other announcements? None. Madam Secretary, do we have public comment?
Yes, James Waters.
Good evening, everyone. James Waters, Hamilton Street. Good, bad, and ugly, or good, bad, and muddy.
Jim?
Oh, wow, thank you. The good, the bad, and the muddy. It's good that we got money from the Fed. And what I suggest is that you dredge the Norristown side of Barbados Island to enhance the economics of the area. I've got a triathlon team that's been dying to get involved in Norristown, but the condition of Riverfront Park doesn't allow that. Also, I've read the 181-page report on putting a hydroelectric, by the county, a hydroelectric generator on the Norristown Dam, which I asked for decades ago. But the flow is not enough on the Norristown side because of the erosion from Stony Creek, which I hope you all had a chance to see the latest documentary video. I'd also like to say that the fireman that just passed the academy is part of Fairmount Firehouse. I'd like to give him a pat on the back when I see him. I understand he's really good on the inside. And as I said, you know, I've been involved with Fairmount Firehouse since I wore diapers. Now, that's when I was younger, not now. The idea that the bad, pause for a little laugh. I am the cheerful gadfly, so I have to keep up my image. The stinky water. The DEP made a comment that it was a low flow and high temperature. Well, the reason we have a low flow and high temperature is because Limerick boils off 34 million gallons, or is it 48 million gallons of water a day to make electricity. And probably now they may be pumping water from the Delaware to keep that nuke plant running. So, you know, the DEP didn't let you know that because the Delaware River Basin Authority is the one that controls the consumptive use. Also, the storm drain that I turned in that was flooded in Elmwood Park that muddied up the volleyball court, I did turn it into Public Works, and I went past there the other day and it's still clogged with debris. The sewer plant concept of putting a hydroelectric generator on, I spoke to John at the plant, and we can't do it. There's some engineering issues that won't allow that to happen. The only thing that we could do for the sewer plant to turn it green would possibly be these hydroelectric or these wind generators that are cylindrical. I talked to Drew Shaw at the county with respect to that. They have them on the college, the community college. The Muddy, I met with State Rep Webster about the issue with the impaired Stony Creek, and the possibility that there is some leverage in the natural hazard mitigation plan, which is the county approved in 2017. Also, the water rate increase. I filed a formal complaint against that, and my testimony to the PUC was that the water company does nothing to protect the resource that it comes from. Now, within 24 hours after my testimony to the judge, the PUC, I got a call from a director of source water protection, and in our conversations, and subsequently sending some documentaries that are up on YouTube, I was told that they have no jurisdiction. Now, the interesting thing is in the Constitution, it states, the state Constitution states that we're entitled to clean air, pure water. I can't see how a corporation, a public utility, cannot enforce the Constitution. Those are one of the other issues that I brought up with the state rep. And what I had asked for was a powwow between the three state reps that are involved in this damage. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Waters.
Oh, I do this because I'm a veteran.
Nancy O'Sullivan.
Hi, good evening. Nancy O'Sullivan. I live at 1209 Markley Street. I was here last month, and I'm following up on a couple of points that I brought up. One, the first is the crossing over to the park on Harding Boulevard. It appears to me, in walking up and down there and talking to some other people, that it would be logical to put the crosswalk at Fornance and Harding, because it does look like there was a crosswalk there before. But I know that the paint is a problem. It froze, apparently, the paint, and from their supplier. So that would be a logical place. There are other places to cross, but they're not as good as that. That already has 2 stop signs. The second point is the zoo, exiting the zoo and entering the zoo. When you're a pedestrian, which I am with my 2 grandchildren and other people are as well, it's very hard to cross because the cars coming up Harding behind where the school is, where Eisenhower is, there's no way to walk there. So you have to go up and around, up Markley Street, and then through the parking lot there where Save-A-Lot is, and come down and cross there. It's also difficult to get out when you're in a vehicle from there because they come very fast around that curve behind Eisenhower. So whether you're a pedestrian or in a vehicle, it's difficult to really navigate coming out of the zoo. And I don't want to see an accident happen, nor does Jamie Sherd at the zoo. He had planned to be here this evening. However, when it wasn't on Tuesday evening, he had a conflict. He had a meeting tonight. He said he will come to subsequent meetings. And if I could find out where we are with the status of possibly getting a traffic study or something to determine if a crosswalk can be put in there for the walkers, and then a stop sign coming up from behind the school. And my third point is earlier, several months ago, they had said that there was possibly a grant that would be approved for the playground equipment, new equipment at the park on Harding. So I'd like to know the status of that. And I was told it couldn't be installed until 2022, but at least they would know about approval this year. And they would determine when in 2022 this playground equipment could be installed. So if I could get an answer back as to whether that equipment has been approved and the grant is there, and hopefully it has come through. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Anthony Urick.
Two copies of that. Go this way. Two copies of that. That can also go each way. So I'm going to continually bring this up basically every time I'm here ad nauseum. The Rosemont, Washington intersection with the...
One second, can you give us your name, your address?
Sorry, Anthony Urick, Rosemont Avenue, Norristown.
Thanks.
I'm going to bring up the non-ADA compliant curb cuts at Washington and Rosemont probably every time I'm here. The pictures you're looking at is the top of Rosemont at Lafayette, where one side is okay, the other side is completely dangerous if you look at the pictures. The paper clip that I used, I marked off inches on it, showing the inch drop around every part of that section, which my 71-year-old neighbor was the one to point it out because she's afraid when she walks that way that she's going to roll her ankle because it is quite dangerous looking. And lastly, I'm going to re-bring up the heart-ramped crosswalk because I almost had a car accident there 3 days ago. I was trying to make a right-hand turn onto Main Street from heart-ramped, and because the cars are there and because the thermoplast is not clear, yet it is a crosswalk because there are two ADA compliant, handicap accessible ramps on Main Street, either side by the U-Haul, and there are lines, but they're dull. But when you're coming from West Norton at 40 miles per hour and now you're reduced to 25 miles per hour, most cars aren't reducing to 25 miles per hour immediately. So I literally had to floor the gas to not get hit by a Mustang that was coming. Now think of that as a human being crossing there. There should be signage of some sort, and additionally, the other sign that says this is a crosswalk, and by law, you should yield to pedestrians, which I was told by someone here that a police officer said the proximity of the Forest Avenue crosswalk was close enough that they didn't have to redo the thermoplast or put signs up or anything. Yet the crosswalk exists, so people are going to use it, and bad things could happen. So I've given you everything I can, and I will continue, and I will keep finding every little safety concern because it's public safety. I'm looking for nothing except for everyone's safety. Thank you.
We appreciate your comment and keep coming back. Thank you.
David McMahon.
Hi, good evening. David McMahon, 721 Halls Avenue. I hadn't really intended to speak, but I just wanted to put down a couple markers on proposed uses of the American Rescue Plan Act money, especially since maybe one of the issues tonight will be about maintenance of homes or whatever. One idea would be a housing trust fund. Another idea might be community land trust, maybe even with the idea towards setting aside land for community gardens and actually urban agriculture. There are some state grants for that kind of spending as well. Speaking of which, too, maybe like a really robust grant writing team could be some dedicated funding going to. That might be things for planning, forward planning some development models that don't sort of like rely on past practices, like the mall model of King of Prussia, the office complexes of Conshohocken, but like what's the next? What does a forward-thinking town look like 20 years from now? How do we get there? How do we plan for that? Whether it's, I see bike lanes on Johnson Highway, but actually maybe there's a plan in place to totally separate bike and automobile traffic that happens in some cities elsewhere, right? What does transit loop look like in Norristown that might connect the future projects at the State Hospital, Elmwood Park Zoo, our transportation center, our possible riverfront development, our business district on Marshall and Main? How do we connect them up with like a high-frequency electric vehicle van loop that comes every 10 minutes and people can reliably get a train to, use our regional rail and get to wherever they need to go in Norristown without waiting for a lot of time? A lot of things like that. One other thing too, a couple years ago, the Ready for 100 sustainability resolution here was passed, and it had a second component to that, which was an energy transition plan, which hasn't been fulfilled as far as I know. That was kind of year 2 of that plan. So that maybe whatever is missing, whatever funding is missing for that phase of that work money could be used for. I would be cautious on infrastructure money, considering we have a bill coming forward that actually may already be carrying out some of the things we want to do for stormwater, et cetera. So those are just some random initial thoughts, and hopefully when the new part of the website is up where we can kind of flesh these out a little bit more fully in public, that would be great. But those are some initial ideas.
Thank you for your comment.
That's all.
Okay, so I will open it up to anyone else who wants to do a public comment. If you step up, sir. Name, address, and your comment.
Good evening. My name is Percy Thompson. I live in 205 East Wood Street in Norristown, PA.
What was that again? Could you
Percy Thompson.
Council?
Thompson.
Thompson.
Thompson, thank you.
My complaint is about street cleaning on Tuesdays and trash days on Thursdays, when the trash people do not care about how they dump the trash, and it's trash in the street, so you got to pick it up anyway. I never understood why you clean the street before the trash man shows up, period. That's one. Two is 300 block of West Popular Street. I talked to Brother Thomas about it, and in both sides is the same day, same time frame as street cleaning. There's nowhere to park except for the apartment complex, which only holds about 12 cars, and it's about 15 different people in apartments in this building. So, either you park on somewhere on Sweet Street or somewhere on Astor Street. And that's kind of hard to do for somebody that I know that gets up at 1 o'clock in the morning and they got to get up, move the car on the Tuesdays, all the time, even especially during the snow. It's when she got a lot of tickets doing the snow thing. I don't see why I heard between that and Smith Street is the only 2 streets that has something like that. It hasn't been changed. Everybody else got a one day on one side and one day on another side. And my third is weed and grass cutting. If you're on vacation and it rains here, grass grows, I'm not here, and I get a $50 violation saying my grass is too high. Well, I'm not in town, so how am I supposed to know what my grass is doing? And I keep my grass clean every week. All of a sudden, can somebody just say, give you a warning? They say no. We send you this form out, you fill it out. If you have no complaints, then we'll refund your money back to you. Well, I asked the guy, I said, well, can't you look at the computer now and see, do I have any complaints? Why should I give you $50 what I don't have for that problem? I'm just waiting for an answer for all these, I really appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And if you could get your email address to Madam Secretary, we would appreciate it. Any other public comment?
Good evening.
Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, that's it. Thank you. Thank you all for your comments. We will get back to you in regards to your comments. Mr. Jones, can we have resolution 21-64, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, resolution 21-64 is a resolution before council for the approval of the and appointment of the inaugural members of the Stormwater Authority. that council previously has set.
Okay, yep.
The council has approved an ordinance to create a stormwater authority. We advertised in the newspaper, used all of our media in terms of getting residents to volunteer for consideration to be on the authority. We did receive 5 applicants, all of which have been forwarded to council. And as you know, council, you can, in establishing this authority, also place up to 3 members of council on the authority. The initial appointment of members has to be in a staggered fashion so that 1 member each of the 5 appointees is serving 1 through 5 years respectively on the board. After that person actually matriculates through the process and comes off, the reappointment or a new appointment would be for 5 years, and so everybody's term would become 5 years after these initial terms have expired. In putting together the information, researching and reviewing the applicants, had conversation with council members, conversation with president. We put forth this recommended list to the council for folks to serve on this inaugural board. It's important that this get done, as the board needs to be put into place so that we can actually incorporate the authority, and the intention of council had been that the authority would go into effective January 2022. And so we would need to do the filing with the state to get it incorporated as an official authority. The candidates that were put on the slate for consideration for a 1-year appointment, Mr. Michael Ludwig; the 2-year appointment, Christine Flemings; 3-year appointment, Councilmember Rebecca Smith; 4-year appointment, Councilmember Thomas LaPera; and the 5-year appointment is Mr. Matthew Moria. All of these folks have diverse backgrounds. Some of them have actually been CLA and members, and have been volunteering for CLA, Keep Norristown Beautiful, etc. School teachers and other types of professionals, biologists are in the mix. And so we think that this is a good initial group to get this started, and would go a long way in being able to move the municipality forward. As you know, you've got some other items for discussion tonight that will also be impacted by this as well. So with that, we put that resolution in front of council for your consideration.
Council, any questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have a motion to pass Resolution 21-64, which is appointing members to the Norristown Stormwater Authority, sorry.
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Valerie Moman.
Aye.
Hakeem Jones.
Aye.
Heather Lewis.
Aye.
Rebecca Smith.
Aye.
Thomas LaPera.
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye, the ayes have it, 21-64.
Oh, Sonia's here? Okay, I'm sorry, Sonia.
Okay,
That was her talking.
Corporal James Angelucci.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. So resolution number 2166 is a promotion of Detective Corporal James Angelucci to the position of Detective Sergeant. This is to fulfill basically a rank structure within the detective division. When Chief Talbot departed, that raised me up into an acting position, and my position was then vacant. So in order to do that, we need to have a division commander for that. So that's my proposal.
Council, any questions or comments?
Seeing none, can we have a motion to pass resolution 21-66, which is the promotion of Corporal James Angelucci to police sergeant?
Motion.
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Valerie Moman.
Aye.
Hakeem Jones.
Aye.
Sonia Sanders.
Aye.
Heather Lewis.
Aye.
Rebecca Smith.
Aye.
Thomas LaPera.
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye. The ayes have it. Resolution 21-66 passes. Come on up. Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, James Angelucci,
I, James Angelucci,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Charter of the Municipality of Norristown,
the Charter of the Municipality of Norristown,
and that I will enforce the laws
and that I will enforce the laws
of this Commonwealth
of this Commonwealth
and the ordinances of Norristown,
and the ordinance of Norristown,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
as a police sergeant
as a police sergeant
for the Municipality of Norristown Police Department
for the Municipality of Norristown Police Department
with honor and fidelity.
with honor and fidelity.
I do further swear
I do further swear
that I will uphold, obey,
that I will uphold and obey
and enforce the law
and enforce the law
without consideration
without consideration
to a person's race or color,
to a person's race or color,
sex or religious creed,
sex or religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age or national origin,
age or national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap, or disability.
handicap, or disability.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir. Thanks, y'all.
You're absolutely right. So exciting. Exciting. I always like when people get anything.
Mr. Jones, can you lead us in Resolution 21-67, please?
Thank you. Council, Resolution 2167 is a resolution requesting council appointment to another citizen board. This time, we have Ms. Angela Smith, who is being requested to be appointed to the Keep Norristown Beautiful Board. She would fill a term that would expire in on July 31st, 2023.
Council, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion to pass Resolution 21-67, which is to appoint Angela Smith to Keep Norristown Beautiful Board?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Valerie Moman,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis, Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye, the ayes have it, 21-67 passes. Ms. Fisker, can you lead us in Resolution 21-65, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolution 21-65 is, I'm asking your approval to appoint Tri-State Financial Group as our business privilege tax collector starting January 2022. Currently, Tri-State Financial Group serves as our amusement tax collector and has been proactive in establishing a new collection process and identifying sources of revenue. They have extensive business privilege tax experience, and they have provided 10 local municipalities that they provide this service for. And they provided, they work with us, they're really good to work with, and they have glowing reviews from other municipalities.
Council, any questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have a motion to pass Resolution 21-65, which is appointing Tri-State Financial Group as the business privilege tax collector for January 1st, 2022?
So moved.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Valerie Moman,
Aye.
Hakeem Jones,
Aye.
Sonia Sanders,
Aye.
Heather Lewis,
Aye.
Rebecca Smith,
Aye.
Thomas LaPera,
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye, the ayes have it. Resolution 21-65 passes. Mr. Jones, can you lead us in Phase 1 of the American Rescue Plan Act, please?
What is that? No, I'm saying mouse to change it.
Oh, no, just use the mouse there.
Yeah, that's what. Okay, there you go. I'm gonna go back. Okay, so council, thank you very much. Tonight, we wanted to come back to you to have a discussion about possible funding of projects that for phase one of the use of funds of the American Rescue Plan Act funds. We shared with you in our last discussion about this some potential uses, and we have been following the guidelines as they have been evolving. And so we know that there are some certain things that certainly you have the ability to authorize us to allocate funds for. And we know that there are some projects that are near and dear to your heart that have been in alignment with your goals and objectives in a number of areas that we can really jumpstart some spending. And what I wanted to do is kind of walk you through where we are and where we are headed, and hopefully, and part of our request tonight will be actually asking you to give us permission to move ahead with some of these projects, well, all of them, if you so desire, so that we can get the ball rolling and then start beginning the process for phase two. So just kind of to recap, there are several areas under which these funds can be spent. One is health and social services related, and according to the guidelines, these are projects that can support public health expenditures by approving medical expenses, behavioral health care, and certain public health and safety staff activities. Well, as we looked at legislation, one of those things that is definitely allowable is for us to do upgrades to outdoor recreation facilities. And this has been something that you guys have been pushing, and we've been doing it. But you actually now have the ability, if you'd allocate these funds, to finish out the parks, the smaller parks that we all knew we wanted to, council wanted to have done as a part of your priorities that you established for recreation, leisure services for kids and their families. We also recognize that there has been a deterioration, particularly on the basketball courts over at Simmons Park. It is about that time to do it. I know that Public Works has been doing a kind of a diligent job of trying to keep it together, but it's very much in need of improvements. And so we are estimating about $393,000, almost $400,000 you would be able to take care of doing those projects. Again, it supports your primary goals for provision of service and activities for Norristown youth. It completes actually your goal that you had set forth a couple of years ago about doing something and making improvements in all of the smaller community parks. We're going to talk about the larger parks in a little bit. And then this is the opportunity to do so, as all of these projects are, with no burden on the taxpayers. It's money in the bank that we already have in this first phase. So that's one set of projects that you can undertake. Second one has to do with local government fiscal recovery. So there's a formula by which the Act allows municipalities to calculate what was the loss of revenue that the government had as a result of COVID. And Kathy and her team have been doing a great job of managing through that formula and estimating where we are. We think it's in excess of $3 million in revenue that municipality lost as a result of COVID. And one of the things that we know that council doesn't want to do, but had to do, in this last budget cycle was to raise taxes. And we certainly feel that if we're not allowed to recoup that revenue, we'll be having that same conversation at budget time again. Certainly by being able to put that revenue back in place, and that was one of the primary reasons the Rescue Act Fund was given to local governments, that would significantly reduce the requirement for us to do that. Council might also recall that you had previously, by Resolution 2153 this year, had previously approved the purchase of some police cars that are desperately needed. We can use these funds. We couldn't do it just buying cars, but we certainly can, as a part of recouping funds to the government that we lost revenue, we can use these funds to pay for those cars. So you've approved the purchase of the cars. We were looking basically because of cash flow to look at leasing those cars, but use of these funds would actually allow for us to not do an outright purchase of those cars, which would make the vehicles less expensive to us because we wouldn't be paying finance rates on the vehicles. So if council is amenable to us setting aside that $3 million for recouping municipal losses during that, this would allow us to significantly, like I said, reduce the likelihood of a tax rate increase in 2022, stabilize our general fund, because you have a policy, fund balance policy that you have, that we would keep at least 16% of our revenues in reserve for rainy day emergency. We have been diligently trying to keep that actually above 20%. And they've been doing a pretty decent job of doing that, and that's a better number than 16. 16 is a minimum, and this would allow us again to move toward that, and we'll comply with, like I said, with your fund balance policy. And so we're recommending that council allow us to set aside that money, and actually, the law allows us to look at doing that for 2021, 2022, and 2023. The good news is, and I hope Kathy is in her report, we'll talk about it. The good news is revenues are trending pretty well in some areas. So that's maybe in future years it may not be as necessary if, cross all our fingers, everything stays stable in terms of COVID and people being able to go back to work and open businesses, et cetera. So that's another one of the projects that we like council to consider approving us to do tonight. Big one, infrastructure. And I know it came up earlier in terms of possibilities of what's going to happen with the pending Infrastructure Act. And those projects, yes, we have been involved in discussions with the county, with Congresswoman Madeline Dean's office. I know it was Councilmember LaPera and I were involved in the tour with Congresswoman Dean and Councilmember Cooper, Moman, I have to say, because she's on her staff. We were involved in the tour, and so there's a lot of things in that discussion that are about infrastructure in that larger bill that we're looking at. As a matter of fact, we already had started discussion about dredging the river. And myself, President Perry, Vice President LaPera will be participating with the county, the Bridgeport, and with West Norton in some discussions later this week, about a dredging project with the river, and we're kind of starting a discussion about a pre-application from the multiple communities with the Corps of Engineers about a dredging project, and so that's certainly on the table. And there are other infrastructure projects in town that we talked about with in that group. So we'll be pursuing that, but certainly in the guidelines that were presented, for this ARPA money, investments in water, sewer, broadband infrastructure, were key things that they said communities should be looking to do. And we thought, particularly because of the stormwater utility that you established a board for tonight, that Stormwater Advisory Committee has been working, and Council Members Jones and Council Presidents Perry have been working along with staff and consultants on that advisory board now for the last 7 or 8 months, preparing for the implementation of the stormwater utility. They have established really some benchmarks for what a budget would look like, an annual budget would look like, particularly that first year budget would look like for the stormwater utility to generate both the staffing, equipment, and projects over the next 5 years. And it's, that'll be a rolling 5 years because there are millions and millions of dollars worth of stormwater work that needs to be done in the community. One of the things this fund would allow us to do would be actually to delay the actual assessment of the fee to residents. And so since you have this money, you can start off this program by funding that first year. And as we look at where you want to go with subsequent use of the funds, you can fund subsequent years of the program as well with that, and either gradually increase or delay altogether for a year or so the need to begin the assessment, direct assessment to residents. And I think that's great. So you get to establish the utilities, set it up, no cost to taxpayers. Like I said, it delays the need to assess a fee to property owners. We all know that there are critical stormwater needs in the city, and this begins to give us an immediate need. Once the board has gotten itself organized, formally adopted this budget, we can begin and gotten into a managed services agreement with the municipality. We can actually begin the implementation of these stormwater projects immediately after that process goes forward. Now, there's going to be certainly lots of community discussion now that the board has been established, and the board is actually going to go around doing some education. But I think a great piece of information that they'll be able to share with the community as they talk about this is that, hey, the council has actually delayed the cost and the financial impact of this on residents by being able to cover those fees with this ARPA money for a period of time. And then the second piece at this point on infrastructure that we're looking at, we know that there's been much discussion about the sewer, the conditions of the sewer system in the municipality. And council has always expressed a need and a desire to understand clearly what the condition of the sewer system is, so that not only council, the authority itself, but residents can understand to a greater degree what you already understand about the age of the system and what really needs to happen in terms of just working on the system. I forget the name of the community that recently that just completed a similar study, did not know, and their system, old like our system, they ended up with about $81 million worth of work that needs to be done on an aging system. So for us, we think it's important. I know you guys have said it's important. I actually did have a lunch meeting with Barry Thompson last week to talk about council's potential interest in this. He was excited about the fact that the council would fund a study to see what it was like. I will say, he had some areas that they were interested in targeting, and my counter to that was, why not target the entire thing so that you have a full comprehensive view. And we've gotten an estimate about what that assessment would cost. It's be minimal compared to the cost again, we get to gain that knowledge that allows the authority to begin doing capital planning and for upgrade of the system as needed. And so again, no cost to taxpayers in doing that, and we think it's a positive partnership with the sewer authority in getting to know and understand the needs of the system, because you know that you guys have an aggressive economic development program going, and certainly knowing what's underground is going to be important to be able to carry that out, particularly as we look at what's happening out at the state hospital grounds, what we're planning for riverfront redevelopment, Kennedy Kendrick, and all of these other things that are about to come online. And this is, I know it's small, and so you won't be able to see it, but I wanted to give you a look at what that first year's look at the sewer authority budget would be based on all of the work that our consultants, our municipal engineer, Cal Hassan, and our public works director have done in making the assessments for what the program should look like. It would cover the first year of all of that work, all of that personnel that has to go into finally addressing issues in the community that have needed to be addressed regarding flooding for generations. So here we are right now at this phase one funding request. The total of all of those is about $5.4 million that addresses critical community needs at no taxpayer expense. We still would have a remaining about $4.4 million remaining just in the funding that we have going forward. We know that around, I guess, June of next year or so, we should expect that second $10.1 million to come to us. We've done all we needed to do paperwork-wise, and we'll do anything they add for us to do paperwork-wise for that money to come to us. The good news, we're an entitlement community. We don't go through the county. It comes directly to us. And so you would have, after this, about $14.6 million, almost $14.7 million in spending that you still have to do and consider in projects that would be impactful for the community. Again, I think it's important, certainly for public consumption, that we know that these projects are kind of timing is of the essence kind of projects, because we have to encumber these dollars. All 20 million has to be encumbered by 2024, and all 20 million has to be spent by 2026. So anything that's not spent by 2026, we have to give it back to the federal government. And I know you don't want to do that, and I certainly don't want to come to you saying we have to do that. So we want to be as aggressive as possible. I think one of the other things that is pressing in us moving forward, I think all of you know from the work we're doing now and from the work that's going on in town, that now as the economy is recovering, the construction projects are going on everywhere. What we're encountering, like everybody else, is there's a demand on resources, wages, resources, people, resources, material. So there's delays in that. So folks who get it out of the door as quickly as possible will get it back in, because all communities, and I think we're ahead of a lot of communities in Montgomery County. Because talking to, I think it was Senator Capoletti's office, and she was saying, wow, a lot of these folks didn't even know how to apply for their money, because most of them have to go through the county. And when they called us, said we needed any help, it was like, oh, ours is in the bank right now. And so other folks, as they start getting theirs in, they're going to be looking to spend, and we have an opportunity to start spending now so we can know that we can get ourselves in line in the supply lines and material lines that are going to get longer and longer as everybody starts to begin spending their money. So future considerations that we have are, Elmwood Park, Riverfront Park. We've talked about a skate park at Poly Park. Consolidating a fire station, and while it doesn't look like we can directly give the money to do a fire station, but if we can recover our money this year, next year, we certainly can peel off a portion of that to invest in a fire station as well, which will again help taxpayers, because we can actually go from 4 places that we don't own to 1 that we do. We don't have to buy as much equipment, and we can consolidate our operations into a single place, which would be most helpful. And our Fire Chief Tom O'Donnell and I have been spending a lot of time talking about this. We've talked to you about it already, and when you add what we can possibly do with that money on top of the fact that we're paying out about $190,000 almost every year in terms of subsidies to those 4 fire stations that we don't own, between what we can give and leveraging those funds, we could easily get a manageable mortgage on a fire station to do that. Soccer field for youth at McCann Park, soccer field for adults at Simmons Park, lead paint remediation project. I know there are a number of social services agencies that are looking to us, looking to the county as well. I reiterate, as I told them, county got $161 million, we got 20. And so the county has the primary responsibility of that. So I shared with, as I shared with you before, you may want to target some dollars specifically for Norristown residents, as you have with other monies you've gotten for housing, housing rent relief and utility relief. But I would recommend doing it where you're partnering with the county, and I talked to the county about this already. You got 62 communities that should be ponying up into that with you guys. If you're gonna be looking to us guys to do it, they should run it because that's their wheelhouse, that's not our house. We just wanna make sure that the programs, if they're gonna develop them, are appropriate for what you want your residents to have. So there's a conversation that we have to have about that. I think one of those other things that is a viable thing that you might want to consider is you already do some support of the library. And education is a big piece of what you guys do. You have the ability to have a Norristown Council room thing or something like that, where you can dedicate for a particular purpose for use in the library. The county owns the building, and I've already talked to their COO about that. Their plan is to make some significant investment in the building, but you might want to consider making significant investment in programming, technology or something to support programs that are important for you. So you're going to have a whole lot of things there, a lot more to be determined things that you guys are going to have on the table to talk about with this as we go forward. So I'll tell you, at least in the kind of next steps in terms of that. Again, we are hopeful that you will approve this first phase, and we can proceed with the procurement process with those items that we bring back to you saying, hey, we've identified this piece of equipment, this, and this. We approve that. You've already approved the cars. We just want the money so that we can pay for it out of this. We also would then begin looking at the equipment purchases, et cetera, related to stormwater utility. And again, that would occur after the incorporation has happened. The authority has adopted the budget. It's gone forward, and we've gotten a managed services agreement that the solicitor's office is going to work with us on to handle the operations. And then staff will continue our work with Triad Associates, who you approved us to go into contract with, to kind of help guide us through all of the other legislation, help us with the community outreach that we plan for going out and talking to the community and getting community engagement to have discussions about that next $14+ million of money that had to be spent. We want to talk about all the things that you guys put on the table get residents' input. We got some great input tonight about potential uses of this money. Once we've collected all of that information, get it back to you as soon as we can so that you can make a decision on where you want to go with the next uses and phases of the money. So with that being said, that's my presentation for tonight. And again, I'd end with, if council is amenable to it, we'd ask that you allow us to move forward with that allocation of funds that for the projects that we laid out. Again, which total $5,453,875. Thank you so much.
Council, any questions or comments? Councilman Jones.
It's all exciting stuff. I just wanted to mention, as of now, there's no youth football facility for the kids here in Norristown. So we spoke on soccer, and I saw basketball, so let's not forget about football. We are a football community here in Norristown, so I guess soccer fields can be converted to football fields, but as of now, there's no place for the kids to play football in Norristown.
Council, any other questions or comments? Councilman Vice President LaPera.
You mentioned that you can't exactly take the funds and build a firehouse with it, but you can build a firehouse and then pay for the firehouse with the funds.
So here's the deal. For that $3 million that we're asking to make us whole, you can actually spend that money however you want.
Okay.
So once you allocate that, saying that's part of our recovery, we can allocate funds out of that to support the building of the firehouse. And so again, I think just from the standpoint of stability of where we are financially, I know that, like I said, I think it's 21, 22, and 23, we can look at that. And as Kathy and the team continues to look at where we can go with 22, 23, that might be a piece of that. 14, you can peel off and identify specifically for that. Like I said, we spend about almost $190,000 a year in stipends to the 4 firehouses that we don't own. When you combine that with, what we estimate to be probably $1 million or so, and you combine that with what we're already paying, I think that $180,000 or less would be a mortgage, a 30-year mortgage on a firehouse that we own. That would reduce our operating costs. That would actually make the fire department much more effective in terms of having personnel on hand, in terms of us not having to buy so much equipment that we don't have enough volunteers to even use. So, and again, the bottom line for taxpayers is that they don't have to pay for equipment, et cetera, that we can't use.
I agree. It's a public safety issue, and with the volunteers dwindling across the country, we're going to have to come to a point where we hire more firefighters, and the way to do that really is by consolidating, reducing fleet.
Absolutely.
Hire firefighters, right?
I 100% agree with you.
Council, any other? Councilwoman Smith?
I get moving forward with using these as mostly things that we've been talking about in stabilization, but when can we use our super cool new public engagement platform for the rest of the money?
Yes, and that is the goal, to do that. As a matter of fact, we had our first kind of rollout meeting with them. Was it Monday? Time gets away from me, but I think it was Monday this week. And we all decided what project is the project we can be with the lunch project. And it was this ARPA, that we would definitely use this as the tool to do that. Plus, and it's going to be a combination of that tool and some live things as well. But that's what we're going to do it for.
Do you have any idea, sorry, about when we can roll it out?
Well, we got another meetings. They said generally it takes about 2 months to get all ramped up, but I did say urgent. We want to start being able to have these. So between here and October, I think we'll be ready to launch it.
Thanks, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Councilwoman Millman?
Yeah, I just want to mention, I'm really excited about this. Too bad my term is ending. But I like the fact that we plan to pay off those vehicles to help our budget. And what council discussed a couple of years ago with the reserve, this is a cool thing. This is a really cool thing that we are concentrating on not raising taxes to balance our budget or to increase our reserve. So I think it's a cool thing that we can pay this off and help with our money.
Yes. Yes, yeah.
Just wanted to mention that.
Councilwoman Fisher, you have anything?
Who?
What she
Oh.
said.
Fisher.
You said Fisher.
Councilwoman Sanders, do you have anything?
Oh, my God. Wait a minute. So, one, I'm very, very excited about this in terms of Norristown, meaning that we have various opportunities and we're going to also engage the public. But what I don't want to get too wrapped up in, and we did discuss this our previous council meetings, is that we were going to have publication and to keep the constituents engaged. So I don't want to do an overkill of that because, as I mentioned the last meeting, I kind of felt like some of those efforts were being duplicated. And I didn't hear what Councilman Vice LaPera said in terms, I know he mentioned the consolidation of the police station. However, Mr. Jones, I didn't hear what your response was to that.
Yes, sure. It's the consolidation of the fire stations. And my response is, it is definitely a good thing. It's something the fire chief and I have been talking about for a few years now, because right now we spend so much money basically paying stipends for property that we don't own. Those facilities are aged out. They weren't built for modern firefighting in the first place. And so this will give us the opportunity to consolidate, our personnel in one place. We don't have a choice that we've seriously got to look at ramping up and adding additional firefighters, because volunteerism all over, everywhere, is dying. And so being able to have one single place to do it is much more efficient. If we're not buying equipment for multiple places, that means that we can actually invest dollars that we would have been investing for capital in the personnel. And I think we won't have to have as many personnel as well, because they'll all be in a single facility.
Yes, I do recall when I was chair that we did, Chief O'Donnell and myself and you actually attended some of those meetings in terms of firefighters being a regional issue. However, I did have a question in terms of that. So for the capital improvement plan, I thought, and I could be wrong, that there was mention of consolidating the firehouses back then.
That was, and the problem has always been money, and what, I will not pull a scab off of a sword, but I think one of the large parts of what we were looking at as a part of potential outcomes of the sewer sale was to be able to take care of that of it then, and I think this is one of those fortunate opportunity, once in a generation opportunities we have to do that. You're right. It was you, me, and Chief O'Donnell that actually generated the discussion at the county level for regionalism in firefighting. But it's like asking high schools to give up their mascot when you're trying to get communities to come together. It's a hard thing, but certainly in town. And something that can impact the pocketbooks and wallets of residents in town. That if we go to one firehouse and consolidate, we certainly we will still partner with other communities. But the good news is that we provide a more efficient service at a cheaper cost to residents by having a single firehouse.
Okay, and I just have a comment. One, I would hope that my colleagues would utilize these funds to relieve our constituents in terms of not raising taxes, and two, to focus on revenue for Norristown, and most importantly, that this money goes to the general fund in terms of the budget. But I really wouldn't want to get caught up into too many nonprofits. I think we've all generated some great ideas, and I just feel like we should prioritize, what's more important to Norristown, in that order as we have this discussion.
Thanks. I have a comment, and a couple suggestions. In regards to the funds, I would hope that we can more concentrate on some of the parks that are being used more from the children, like Elmwood Park. I know we are concentrating on the little parks, but I'd love to see our big park done. It's just been sitting just for too long, and a lot of complaints about it. Councilman Jones, in regards to your comment, and I don't want to bring this up, but we've been trying to concentrate on football and sports, for the community. We just can't have those meaningful conversations that we've been trying to have, and I ain't gonna bring that up with other governments to try to help that out. We'll just leave that there. And a suggestion that I'm gonna think outside the box. We do have a lot of different soccer fields, but I'm thinking we should try to maybe concentrate on a community pool, something that would be beneficial to all of the kids, because we do have the Carver Center, but obviously there's not a lot of stuff that's going on there. But I think we have enough space in some of the places to possibly build something that could be beneficial to the community at the end of the day, and that would be a great community pool. I'm just thinking outside of it. And of course, I'm happy that the basketball courts are finally going to be fixed, possibly. So thank you guys for doing a wonderful job in regards to this. I know you're following our goals. If anyone wants to really know what we've been concentrating on, and I heard a lot of different stuff from the community today, but we hear you. We definitely hear what you're saying, and we definitely are working on the plans that are necessary for Norristown to move forward at the end of the day. So hopefully you'll be pleased at the end of the day, because this gets done. We just want to see it get done. And that's the solutions that we've been coming up with ever since we've been in office. It's just to keep it rolling. But thank you guys for putting that together, and thank you guys for doing a wonderful job in regards to finding out about the American Act, and we'll put the money where it needs to go. So with that being said, any other questions or comments? With that being said, can we have a motion for council to have staff move forward in regards with Phase 1 recommended projects utilizing the ARPA funds to develop?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Valerie Moon.
Aye.
Hakeem Jones.
Aye.
Sonia Sanders.
Aye.
Heather Lewis.
Aye.
Rebecca Smith.
Aye.
Thomas LaPera.
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye, the ayes have it. Motion passes.
Thank you, council.
Ms. Masonier, can you lead us, please?
Thank you, Council President. Council members, you'll recall that at the last council meeting, the planning department had brought you the dilemma we had with the rental and mortgage and utility assistance program. Essentially, council had selected a scenario B, which was to cover at least 68 households of 50 households for utilities, where we were looking to assist the households with at least $400 per month for 3 months, $100 for utilities for 3 months, and we're looking at mortgage assistance in terms of $500 for 3 months and $166.67 for 3 months. All in all, out of the $200,000, we're not really able to spend the money as much as we wanted to spend and in the speed we wanted to spend it in, simply because more money was actually allocated to other entities such as the county and the state as well as PHFA. So the community really had another option, and our option was not the best, so they went to the other entities. So when I brought this matter to council last time, asking council, maybe we need to double what we're giving out there to see if it could get some traction, council asked me to go back and see what the county was doing, and if we could then take a look at that to determine what we needed. And actually, that was a good exercise. So when we went to the county, we did learn that the county was offering an average of $3,179 towards assistance beginning from March 2010 onwards, and with a cap of 12 months, which means they're giving much, much more than we were giving. So in that sense, they've actually been able to assist at least 1,365 renters in Norristown. And they have spent $4,387,000 in that short-term span. But clearly, the program is working well. In as much as it is, we notice there's a gap. The renters are getting assistance, but we don't see assistance for mortgage, homeowners. That's where we come in. We said, well, why don't we make a recommendation to council that we offer as much as $3,200 towards mortgage and utility assistance, since our homeowners are not being assisted at the county level. So at least we'll be able to meet that gap. So that's the recommendation we've brought back to council. And if you think that is a good suggestion, we'll be willing to then put together what we call an amendment to the CDBG CV. I think it's a 5-day, we have to advertise as a citizen participation process, and then be able to inform her that this is what we're going to do in order to push the funds. So our whole thought is this: renters are being taken care of, our homeowners are not. So if council will allow us to go in that direction, we'll be ready to move on. And if we do that, for the money that we have remaining, we might be able to assist at least 63 households, which is, I think, is a bang-up thing. So it was a good exercise to actually check and see what they're doing.
Council, any questions or comments? Councilwoman Lewis.
Thank you, Jane. Is there a mechanism where you were able to assess like the amount of mortgage, that people are behind? Because I'm pretty sure people are significantly behind in their mortgage, on the brink of foreclosure. So would that $3,000,
I understand what you're saying.
would it even impact it? You know what I mean? So
I understand.
to be honest, I would say help less people really
With more.
get out of foreclosure, because $3,500 on a $15,000 arrearage is not, the mortgage company, what's the likelihood that the mortgage company is gonna take that?
Yeah.
And really be able to do something with it? So I think the dollar amount, you may have to do an assessment, like really how far are people behind in their mortgage?
That's a good point.
And the ability to be able to get out of foreclosure. You know what I mean, and salvage that. So I think that might be the issue. I don't think the $3,200 is really gonna make a difference for folks that are that far behind.
Councilman, I think you're making a good point. What we can do is look at the pre-applications that we had. We had over 200 of them, and most of them didn't come back. But what we can do is ask the consultants to take a look at that and gauge the average. Then I can inform you what we're seeing. And then after I get that, I will share with you.
To, modify or negotiate
Sure.
with the mortgage company, like, hey, I'm $15,000 behind, but I
Right.
can get 10.
Right.
Get 10 and modify, put the rest on the back, and,
It makes sense.
stuff like that.
That's a good idea. So I'll go back to the consultant, see what we can gauge from those pre-applications, and come back and let you.
Excellent point. Excellent.
Councilwoman Smith.
I agree, it's an excellent point. Is there an ability to be flexible in like the total amount? So like perhaps rolling basis as needed and see what people
Yes.
actually need?
The good thing with this money is that as long as you're income eligible, you can design in any way you feel will have the impact that you want. So essentially what Councilwoman is saying is it's on the money, but it's best to know what we're dealing with. So I think let's look at the pre-applications, get an idea of how far people are falling back, and then I'll come back to you. But that's the thinking we're having. So if we're all in the same direction, then we'll know that's where we're going. And if you think that's okay, I will go ahead and do that with the consultants, and I'll report back to you.
So are you asking, for instance, is it like, her person might need 10,000, but somebody else might need 40?
Right, like on a rolling basis,
Yeah.
we'll look at what you need until we're all out of money.
Yeah, yeah,
I understood your question.
okay.
I understood your
Yes.
question. So we can say maybe the cap will be 10,000, for instance, but someone might just need 2,000. Another person may need 7,500. So yes, you can be that flexible, as long as you're income eligible. That's what we care about. So I'll be back.
Councilman Jones.
So you don't.
Yeah, I agree with this change that, the homeowners are,
They're being left out?
They're being left out, and we are pretty lopsided with our numbers when it comes to homeowners.
Absolutely.
My only concern is, I would hope that the people who are getting the assistance physically live in the home, because I've heard a lot of loopholes, I've heard, so I guess, you might own a house on Smith Street and hold the mortgage, but we want to see that you physically live there too.
Well, thanks for letting us know. We'll figure out a way to make sure that's the case.
Way to think outside the box, y'all. Council, any other questions or comments? All right, so we'll table this.
Yes, I'll come back. Hopefully
Can we
next-
have a motion to table the CDBG? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Okay, thank you, Council President. The next item is an item I know you have been working on diligently for the last several meetings, and that's the request to authorize the proposed zoning tax change for the multifamily residential district. As Council will recall, in the last meeting, the developer, Sarah Peck, basically went over the development, and that was the second time she was actually outlining what it involved. I'm going to read this in the record in case the people who were not present at that time, they'll know what it entails. So basically, the purpose of this change is to allow for the development that Sarah Peck, and she belongs to the ProServe LLC development, and she's looking to see if she's proposing 4-story elevated apartment buildings with 192 units and 267 parking spaces, 2.5-story 89 townhouses rental with 89 parking spaces, 2, 3, 4-story multiplexes for sale, 90 units with 212 parking spaces, and in total there are 568 parking spaces for the overall development. We've worked on the language back and forth, I think, since last November. We've had the final touch-ups. I think it was just as late as this week. I think it was Monday. And we've come to the conclusion with the ordinance language that I actually sent to council later on yesterday. So we're asking if you would allow us to advertise this ordinance. It's ordinance 21-10. If you allow us to advertise by the MPC process, not only do we advertise in the paper, but would have to share this information with the County Planning Commission. They would do their review. We would share it also with the Norristown Planning Commission. They would do the review, and that has to be done within 30 days. Then we'll come back for a public hearing where then the public can comment on the change, and then council can make a decision on whether they want to adopt that language or not. That's the process, so you won't be hearing about this for a while, I think, until September. So because we don't want that to we don't want you to forget about what the development was all about. When the public hearing comes about, Sarah Pack will be back here again, and she'll go over the project again. So you're well aware of what it is that your text change is allowing. So I'm just asking for your authorization to advertise the ordinance.
Council, any questions or comments? I have one question that someone asked that I know there's a little rumor, but I don't know if you know the question or not. So rumor has it that there will only be an area to come out on Arch Street in regards to going in and out. I think Arch Street is going to be
A highway?
yeah.
Usually there's one on the map on
There, my recollection from the last time I looked at it, there was entrance and exit on Johnson.
I think there was entrances, yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
From
The map
DeKalb.
had kept the original complex entrance and exits.
I mean, even with that many units,
It's gonna be multiple.
it's not like everybody leaves at the same time.
Yeah.
There's, you look at developments next to the Plymouth Meeting Mall, there's apartments there, there's 1,000 apartments there. And
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Cal, sorry.
If I may,
Yeah.
the specifics of the actual design, internal circulation, access, exit, entry to the site, that will all be ironed out during the manual document. What's before you tonight is really strictly to the type of use, but all those specifics will be looked at, traffic study will be done, and then we'll make sure everything is exactly what it needs to be.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cal.
All right, can we have any other questions, council, comments? We have a motion to request authorization to advertise ordinance 21-10 for a proposed zoning text amendment to multifamily residential use. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call, please?
Valerie Newman. Hakeem Jones. Sony Sanders.
Aye.
Heather Lewis.
Aye.
Rebecca Smith.
Aye.
Thomas LaPera.
Aye.
Derek Perry.
Aye, the ayes have it. Advertise ordinance 21-10 passes.
Thank you.
Can you lead us into your monthly report, please?
Is it on? July, we started the budget process, and we've already received back the capital improvement projects from the department heads. Right now, we're reviewing all those projects and trying to determine funding, just like the ARPA and that sort of thing. We also sent out the operating budget packages on the July 26th, and towards the end of August, we'll begin the department head meetings with them. Also, as Crandall had mentioned, in looking at the July, I've just looked at July today, the revenue is coming in a lot better than I expected. For example, business privilege tax, we were told to expect $650,000. We've already gotten $637,000. We would typically expect $850,000 to $900,000, so it's not perfect, but it's still a whole lot better than what we've expected. There are a few other ones. Real estate transfer tax is extremely high. There's a lot of selling going on, a lot of transfers, so that is, let's see, where's that? We budgeted $475,000, we're already at $554,000. So that's another bump. So, every little bit we get, we're eating away at that fund balance that we're going to have to use. So it's all good news, because especially business privilege tax, that'll lead into next year. And, again, it'll make next year look even better. So that's all looking good. The real estate tax collection, we're right on track. As percentage of budget, we're higher than we have been for the past 2 years. So we're looking good there as well. So everything's looking rosy. Keep your fingers crossed for revenue. Expenses, yes. I tend to be a little conservative, so for me to say that it's looking good, it's looking good. Expenses, we're on track pretty much. There's a few little bumps, but I think they'll be offset in other areas, so that's looking good, pretty good too, so we'll see. We'll start the budget process and we'll see how it goes. do whatever we can to.
Council, any questions, comments? Thank you for your report. Ms. Gennardi.
Hello. Hello, guys. Good evening. Is that me blown up? No. I'm glad I got to see everybody. This is very exciting for me. So, I'm excited. So I have a couple updates. As everybody is generally aware, recreation in the summer is the busiest time. So we're just coming off our 2021 camp season, which I thought went extremely well for being, we're coming off of our COVID restrictions. It was the first time in a building outside of in the past years, I know Hancock had been used, but this was a municipality made building. This was our first real Norristown Recreation Camp in our facilities, which I thought was a very big deal. We maxed out, we had 50 campers, which is the full attendance. Just because, again, I am, as, Kathy is more conservative, safety is number one. And so you're coming off a pandemic. We are the first ones to have an indoor camp. These children, haven't been in school because Norristown was virtual more than half the year. So I thought it would be best for us to have a nice slow rollout. And I thought it went very successful. We ran a full camp. We did 9 to 3, Monday through Friday. We were off-site at field trips twice a week. I had programmed with the zoo every other week. So we had in-house curriculum. I also brought in tennis. We worked with, it's like national, I have to look up, but it is National Youth Tennis. And they came and they taught our children tennis. They set up nets, they gave us rackets, and they ran lessons. And it was all working with, the instructor is right in town. She's lovely. She has actually done a lot of work with the Carver Center. I know she's run softball tournaments with the police departments, and she was great with the kids. Kids absolutely loved her. My staff probably had more fun playing tennis than anything else, but it was a great initiative that is something I think can easily grow because it kept 50 children engaged, which is hard to do. Just kind of to put out a couple of numbers, 2018 we had about 55 campers registered all together, and that was between two sites. That was Elmwood Park and that was Hancock. In 19, my first year here, we went up to 85 campers, and I had maxed that at 85 for safety concerns again, and being new camp location, new year, and we had built a whole new team for camp. In 2020, we were down, it was restrictions to 30, we were outside, and it was a daily drop-in. So to max out at our 50 campers for our first kind of full year back since 2019, I thought was pretty well for the municipality. Just some couple little stats here. Our rentals in 21 year to date is 26 park, gym, and field rentals. We're doing a lot of league rentals for basketball games for youth and adult, indoors, outdoors. And a lot of weekend rentals in the gym are on the rise, you can say, I guess, because now people can be indoors and, they're more coming in for that, 3-year-old birthday party experience that we like to give them. In 2020, we only had 10 rentals. So, I know 2020 was our off year, but I like to say we only had 10 rentals. And in 19, we had a total from January through when I was here, January through December, we had 18 total. So again, we're already ahead in 2021, and we're coming off such a restrictive year. I have a flood rehabilitation update with Latchaw Field. That is completed now. Right now we're kind of ending we run out with the men's 35 plus league. They do Sundays, they're finishing up now. Chestnut Hill College will begin September 1st. We are going to close the field for fall maintenance. So this is the first time we are doing this well, let me say, this is the first time I'm aware of this happening. We're going to do, and I've done this, I've ran this in the past at past facilities I've oversaw with gyms and fields. We do a full closed 2-week shutdown, and that 2-week shutdown is solely so we can resod, so we can edge, so you can weed, so you can get the field back to where it needs to be playable for our hometown, Chestnut Hill University, to play on. We do that as well. It'll happen probably closer to the end of the year for the gym, for resurfacing of the gym floor. But it needs the 2 weeks that nobody can be on it to really bring it back to the facility that we had prior to our flood. So just keep that in mind, that it is for the good of the field, because you also have to remember there are men on it constantly. The mounds are being used 4 or 5 times a week. I've got 4 games on Sundays, so this is something to help kind of revamp what we have and to get it on the right track for maintenance when that starts also in September. Little League fields are completed. I did a walkthrough yesterday with EC Fencing, or EC Fence Works Company. Backstop, dugout, outfield fencing is completed. So now it's just working on keeping the maintenance up of that. The AAU, I have a lot of AAU rentals. Multiple teams run tournaments and showcase tournaments, and they all will begin September 1st, or that week I should say, is when I have after Labor Day, is when I have my first AAU tournament coming. Basement of the rec center, floors, walls, ceilings, and the paint is completed. The men's and women's restrooms, they just need the new toilet fixtures and the sink fixtures. Our municipal plumber will be out next week to complete those. Furniture will be installed September 3rd, and the basement will be ready for use, full use by September 3rd. It looks great. Today we had a cleaning. We closed just daytime, couple hours during the day, and all of the staff and myself, we cleaned, we bleached, we picked everything up from camp. We went deep, and we were finally able to order. So since the flood, so 2020 till now, we had to go and get, we couldn't buy in bulk. So it would be toilet paper every other week. We would have, because we had nowhere to put it. We had no fixtures to hold it up. We had no air. We were, down to a one kind of male-female ADA bathroom to use. So now we were able to put our bulk order in. We have shelving. Our shelving is back. Our cleaning products are back. So we just took the afternoon. We cleaned every aspect, corner, everything. And I'm very pleased with how it came out. So that's done there. Some fall programming, just let everybody know to keep their eye out. We will be running basketball in the fall we're doing a 6-week season starting in October, and I'm going to probably plan like a 1 week in case there is some kind of cancellations or whatever. We're going to do 5 to 7-year-olds, 8 to 10-year-olds. We'll go to 11 to 13, and then we're going to do high school, and we're going to ask for submitted teams. So we're going to run more intramural for the little guys, co-ed, but we are going to try and run a high school league to kind of, if they can coincide with the high school, Norristown High School or whatever high school they're with, that's great. But mainly I'd like it to be for the kids that aren't on that same level, maybe at Norristown High School, but they want that experience and competition. We're going to do full team submittals. So that'll be our fall. Just a couple of things to touch on, too, with the parks. The last phases of Ackies and Cherry Street, we are replacing the basketball poles and the basketball backboards. We're getting brand new backboards and poles. They come in this week. Thomas and Public Works are putting them in for us. It's very exciting business. We also, just a little recap, July 4th, I've heard great feedback, but, people love to tell me everything, good, bad, and ugly, and I've heard good, so I thought it went well. We had about, a steady 300 to 500 people until a small hurricane came. 2 bands performed. The food was provided by all local eateries. We had beer from Von C Brewing from right off of Stanbridge, and the fireworks provided by Celebration Fireworks. And that's about it. Oh, and we also have been running movie nights every Thursday, or every other Thursday, so it's twice a month. We run movie nights at Elmwood, and we've been getting a good steady, probably about a good 50 families or so. We have partnered with Kona Ice Truck, and they will be donating for the rest of the movies. Movies go through October. Kona Ice will be there for our 7 p.m. start, and they are donating shaved ice, tropical shaved ice for children. And that's about it. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, guys.
Councilwoman Lewis.
So that is all great, wonderful stuff. I'm so excited that, Parks and Rec is got some stuff going on. I do, and we've talked about this before, and then I guess COVID hit before we started really doing the renovations to the other parks and the upgrades, is that I think it's really imperative that it's a community-wide choice of what equipment goes in there. We've seen other communities that have like just really dynamic parks. I think it's boring just to plop a, equipment piece in the middle and there's no kind of design or,
Sure.
feng shui or whatever it is that goes into a park, right?
Yes.
So I think, everything, we're not broke, we've got money, let's make sure that we have A1, sensory, all of those things, whatever ADA and recognizing our diversity in our community, that we have all of those aspects represented in all of our parks.
Absolutely, absolutely. We did do before COVID, and I can get with Kevin, I think we did it, you might have just said came in. I did a Facebook, we kind of did that, what kind of stuff do you want? I can pull from that again and kind of just put it out.
And create like maybe a visual, like we got this other, community engagement thing coming online and stuff like that.
Yes.
So that we can kind of, create visuals and what it would look like and sprinklers and water and.
Oh, absolutely. We can get them for you, especially for the upcoming ones. And when we do Elmwood Large, they will be 3D renderings, colored, and that's something we can put up, and we can, wherever you guys want to have it, kind of in New Municipal Hall, Old Municipal Hall, wherever you want, we can do all that stuff. Absolutely.
Councilman Moment.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. You're doing a great job. Question about the MLK Park.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we know for certain that the electric works there?
Yes,
Okay,
I am for certain.
okay.
I
Thank
plugged my phone charger right in there. But we're okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Jones.
Thank you as well. We've seen a lot of improvements, over the years, and our parks are getting done, and we are hearing the good things about it. Raising a 2- and a 3-year-old, it's so valuable to have parks that you can take your kids to. And as I meet other parents, it's like, thank God for the parks. But I think it's going to keep our community attractive. It's going to keep people here. So, and I'm excited about the future stuff. The other parks getting done too. So.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. Cool, thank you.
Sure don't miss that.
Council, any other questions or comments? Councilman Jones, I'm going to say kudos to us for the vision.
Yeah.
Without a vision, there's nothing, right? And without movement, there's nothing. So, and thanks for us for hiring Erica and all of our staff. To move this along to where we're excited now, and community is excited about where we're going. So, but thanks, Erica.
Yeah, I was gonna say 4th of July was really nice too. Just being out there with family and seeing everybody. One recommendation though.
Yes.
I love the music. It was great, but no one knew when the fireworks ended.
So
the grand finale is like the big thing about fireworks, but we missed the grand finale because of the music. But it was great, dynamic. But that's just my.
No, so I can speak to it a little bit. What happened was during our mini hurricane, they were scrambling to cover. They had been setting up 9 a.m. because that's when I had gotten down. They pulled out pulled up, I should say, and everything, they had all their little fireworks stuff, all the little thingies that shoot things off, and it was out, like, he was scrambling. There was about 6 guys, and they were scrambling to cover. So I know, because I had stopped by, and I was like, where are we looking at by 9 p.m.? And he goes, midnight will be great. I was like, oh, well, let's try not. So I have a feeling that there was something where it kind of got stuck from being wet, and they had to but I agree.
No, the fireworks were amazing. Everything was amazing.
It was the time,
sound
yeah.
system was so good too. I just felt like people.
All of a sudden, it was like, are you
and
done?
we were jamming into the music that we were like, oh, it's over. 'Cause that grand finale is when you know.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe they can play halfway through and then we're dancing, YMCA, all type of stuff.
So good.
Hey, Erica, what were the fireworks doing again?
What were they doing?
What were the fireworks doing again?
No, they were good.
Thank you.
And midnight would have conflicted with the community fire.
Oh,
That's right, you're right about that. You're right
Y'all,
about
they
that.
thought they were me. I had like emails like, oh, you did a second show. I'm like, no, that wasn't me. Don't say that.
people,
Professional grade.
yeah, people just propped up and said, we're gonna have our own show right here on our block.
Oh, God.
Thanks, Erica.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
One thing,
Yes, sir.
Simmons Park, I don't know if you got that picture of that slide? The
No,
slide with the hole in
no.
it?
There's a hole in a slide?
Yeah, so,
Which park?
Simmons.
Where's there? Oh, on MLK side?
Okay, yes,
Okay. Not a problem.
so.
Short and sweet.
Ms. Massonia, can you give us some planning and development information or?
Thank you, Council President. I won't be long-winded, I promise. I can report that we did receive the DCD blight remediation grant of $300,000. So if you recall, Council, that was the grant we were going after so that we could address the blight properties. So those funds are in. We were matching those funds with CDBG funds, and we're going to use the acquisition, CDBG funds for acquisition, the remediation funds from the state to demolish. Then we would have the properties either sold to a private developer or a nonprofit to build housing, market rate housing that is, of course, eligible. But I'm glad to tell you that it's in. So that's one thing. The planning department completed the 2020 performance review, which we usually do, and submitted to HUD, so it's under review. We also had a pre-construction meeting with G&B Construction, that is for the Art Street Greenway. They've been issued a notice to proceed for the Phase 1. We were also awarded $32,000 from the 2040 Montco to actually have the crosswalk across the Lafayette Street so that we could connect it to the trail. So that's ongoing, so hopefully everything goes okay. We should have some groundbreaking very soon, and I'm excited about that. What else did we do? We also had a meeting with the Public Works Department to discuss the Section 902 recycling program, so we're looking to go for that grant. We've also had a discussion with Representative Medlin Dean's Chief of Staff with regard to the ways. I think we spoke about it at the last council meeting. That is for the two-way DeKalb Street, and we're embarking on those discussions. We're looking to see if we can go after the raise money, which was previously Tiger. And recall, we also need to have some state money, so we need to start prepping our state representatives for the 20% of the $8 million or $9 million of that project. So I'm just giving it out to council to start with discussions.
I'd be glad to do that.
So, yeah, we need that so that we can go have some funds next year. Staff also looked at private grants for historic church preservations. This, Councilman Perry had asked us to take a look at that, and they have sent some information, and we're just waiting to discuss that, those grants with the respective churches that are interested in that. Besides that, we're also looking at a possibility of going for a grant to enhance the zoo trolley. I don't know if you recall, they bought that trolley, and there is some transportation funds out there that might help us actually enhance that whole concept of having the trolley from the zoo and going to special, like Crazy Errands and Five Saints, just having the loop. I think someone brought it up this evening about using the ARP money. At least we're starting there. So we're looking. Yes, they have a trolley. But anyhow, so we're looking to see if we can have that enhanced. So we've started those discussions with the lobbying group, the GVFDMA, that lobbies for those types of projects. And they're actually quite excited about that. So, because it's been a while since Norristown went for that type of a grant from them. So that's where we are. That's what I have tonight.
Council, any questions or comments for Ms. Missonier?
Quick question. Where are we with Zachary's Barbecue on Main Street?
Interesting you should say that, and I think you received the email, Council President. I inquired because of all the other, and he says it's still on point. I spoke to the architect. I've looked at the drawings. They're supposed to be submitting 3 bids to us by this week, is what they promised me. So, but I will keep you apprised.
Thanks.
I'll make sure I send the email to all council members. I just wanted to make sure that we got this information first. I'll send it. The email will go to all council members.
Okay, will do.
Council, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Seeing none, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Amazing.
Meeting adjourned.